All right, go. Getting a tweet out here real quick because Josh thinks that he will win an argument defending Ben Simmons after yesterday's game, which is just a preposterous idea, but here we are. Josh, do me a favor, just retweet that. I mean, you're feeling real good about this anyway, right? So
yeah, absolutely. We'll see what it says first before I retweet it, but that's neither here nor there.
No. That's okay. That's okay. I mean, I think there's nothing in this tweet that you're going to disagree with. I'll tell you that much.
I don't know. One of your last tweets I saw was you supporting a Korean dictator. So maybe I don't want to just immediately retweet your stuff.
Well, that was because he said you should be jailed for listening to K-pop, which I agree. Hold on. Let me get this other light on.
That's fine, man. We'll start whenever.
There we go. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Awesemo.com NBA Strategy Show. Sorry, Jordan. Am I good? Am I framed all right? Yeah. Presented by No House Advantage. I'm Dave Loughran on the Twitters at Lafayette_D. If you wanted to see just an absolute meltdown last night, you should have been following me. I know a lot of people that are like, Lafayette, I follow you just because you lose your shit when it comes to the Sixers and the Eagles and stuff. And I'm okay with that. Now, I'm actually pretty measured. I'm pretty nuanced in my takes. Sometimes I get frustrated, but here we are. And Josh Engleman is with me along for the ride once again at Josh Engleman on the Twitters. So yesterday, and I'm waiting for our boy Buddy Rowe to come in and say some nonsense. He'll be here, I'm sure, gloating about all of it. I'm okay with that. And you know why? Because I'm no longer a Sixers fan. This morning, had I not felt awful, I never get sick ever. I never get sick. I've had a cold or allergies. I don't know what it is. Everything went away. I was feeling good, and now COVID? I don't feel great again. I don't know what it is. If I felt any better today, getting up early enough before everything else, I was going to rip that Iverson jersey off the wall. I was going to pull everything down. I was going to strip this room of any memorabilia that would signify in any way, shape, or form that I am a 76ers fan, because that was an utterly disgraceful performance last night, blowing a 26-point lead at home to take a stranglehold on the series. And Ben Simmons shoots 4 of 14 from the free throw line. They benched him at the end of the game. You're one of your franchise player, a former first overall pick, is not in the game as time winds down in a huge, biggest game they've ever played, really, one of them, because he can't make free throws. But here we are, still apologizing for this. Now, Josh, I said on yesterday's show, I'm okay with Ben Simmons not being uber aggressive because he can create in many different ways. He's a first-team all-defensive player. But yesterday, there is zero excuse for what we saw. He's the first player all season to miss 10 free throws in a game, including the regular season. He was outright terrible. Even Shaquille O'Neal, throughout every playoff game that he's played, never shot as bad in a postseason from the free throw line as Ben Simmons has done in this series. I'm sorry, in this entire postseason. Inexcusable, inexplicable, but I'm going to give you a shot to try and explain this one away just so you can be your typical contrarian self. Go ahead, pal.
I knew this was going to happen. I saw it coming. I made sure to be ready for this. I got into the Zoom room and you were immediately into it, which just, it made my heart swell with happiness, because I knew you were going to rally against Ben Simmons coming in here. And it is preposterous to not lead with the fact that Tobias Harris was 2 for 11 with 4 points in 38 minutes and a -10 for the game. Ben Simmons, by the way, +7 for the game. The idea that this isn't on Tobias Harris is lunacy to me. If he's not showing up, that is the problem.
That's your argument?
If Tobias Harris isn't scoring, that is a problem. If he's 2 for 11 with 4 points, he made the same amount of baskets, did not get to the free throw line. Why are we not lampooning Tobias Harris for today?
We should be
this morning. Yeah, but you're leading with Ben Simmons, a guy that was positive for the game.
Yes, because man.
All right, tell me this. If Ben Simmons was 4 for 8 from the line and 2 for 6 from the field, would you even have this conversation?
No, but you can't create hypotheticals like that. You simply cannot create hypotheticals like that. Tobias Harris was awful. This is a max contract player that scored 4 points in a game and shot 2 for 11. Inexcusable. There's no doubt about it. So Joel Embiid and Seth Curry combined for 73 points on the Sixers, 106. The rest of the team had 33. Tobias had 4. Ben Simmons had 8, and the bench had 13. All right.
Yeah.
Awful. Furkan Korkmaz also had 8, if you're wondering where those missing points are coming from. Terrible performance through and through. Joel Embiid deserves no blame for this game whatsoever. He was a monster. Okay. Joel Embiid and Seth Curry, are you ready for this? Were the only players on the Sixers to make a field goal in the second half. The only players to make a field goal in the second half. The reason that Ben Simmons shoulders more blame than Tobias Harris for this is because they know that he's going to get hacked. And he is a liability when on the floor at this point. Okay. Tobias Harris can miss baskets, but if you foul Tobias Harris and send him to the line, off the ball fouls, and you send him to the line, he's going to make the majority of them. Tobias Harris did not have a good game. Okay. But the biggest difference is when you have a player out there who was your number 1 overall pick several years back, who is a first team all defensive player that you need out there for many different reasons, but you're fouling him with 4.5 minutes left to go in both halves. And he continues to fail on these attempts. And Doc Rivers goes, well, the first half, it wasn't a big deal because we actually widened the lead. Yeah, because Ben Simmons missed consecutive free throws and Joel Embiid grabbed the offensive rebound, went to the line and knocked both of them down and finished what Ben couldn't do. So yeah, it is on Ben Simmons when you shoot 4 for 4 from the line. You are a liability when you can't get possessions off. Listen, 1 or 0 of 2 on every possession is not going to get it done. So while Tobias Harris is having a bad game, he could just not shoot and not score. When it comes to Ben Simmons, he has to go to the free throw line because they're leaving him out there and he can't make them. 4 of 14, you can't get around that. That is 10 points right there, completely wiped off. Even if he had shot 8 for 14, which would still be below average, but less than pathetic, we would not be having this discussion. But 4 for 14, really the worst free throw shooting performance we have seen on the season all year long, dating back to middle of December when the season started. Yeah, when you're out there and you have to get fouled and go to the line and you can't convert, you are the problem.
I am not going to lose my mind over 4 missed free throws when you're playing all NBA level defense on the opposite side. Yeah, but 4 is the real problem. We're not expecting him to go out there and shoot 14 of 14. That's insanity. There's no expectation that only people that shoot free throws shoot them perfectly. We're talking about 70-something% at the line of an average free throw shooter. So he's 3 shots behind where you actually want him to be. 4, we'll say. That we're talking about 4 missed free throws makes him the pariah of Philly. Tobias Harris is getting cooked defensively on most possessions. Can't score. What is his value to being out there right now?
10 of 14 would be 71% from the line.
Okay.
So 10 of
free throws?
What's that?
6 free throws?
Yeah. They lost by 3.
And he was +7 even missing those 10 free throws.
Yeah, because Dwight Howard's terrible and was -14 in 8 minutes. But that's, again, though, you're missing the point.
By the way, they should move Simmons to the 5 and take Howard out of their rotation, but that's neither here nor there.
They should move Simmons under the L in Kensington, okay? The problem, that's a little much. The problem is, it's not about, you want to tally up the missed free throws, fine. That's not even the argument I'm making, Josh. The argument I'm making is that your offense is in a rhythm. You've got a massive lead. You're scoring points. Seth Curry's knocked down 7 threes in the game. You're humming. And now, over the 2.5 of the final 5 minutes, or 3 of the final 5 minutes, you're hacking Ben and bringing him to the line. You're giving see, this is the point. When you're saying, okay, well, it's just 4 missed free throws or 6 missed free throws, it's not, though, because you have to account for that possession that was lost with Ben Simmons going to the line on a night that you were shooting well from the 3-point line. Dude, you're mathematically and statistically, you're one of the smartest people I know. You have to understand that you're not just counting those free throws. You're taking away valuable possessions from a team that can do a whole lot more than get 1 or 0 points on those possessions. And now that's a total of 5, 6, 7 minutes in the entire game where you're now not provided the opportunity to get those points.
I mean, sure, but we don't do the same thing if people are missing shots. Like, why is there a difference? Because you just get to shoot it freely? Why are we mad about missed free throws and not about missed field goals? Serious question.
I understand this is a serious question because several reasons. Because I'd still rather have a 3-point attempt from Seth Curry, far more effective shot. It counts for 3, right? And he's a phenomenal 3-point shooter. I'd still rather have a post-up attempt from Joel Embiid. Even in that game, I would still rather have Tobias Harris taking shots, no matter how bad he was, than sending a guy to the line that has proven time and time again that he cannot make free throws.
I think we're overreacting to his misses. Just a hair. Just a hair.
I don't think so. Like, I don't think you can look at last night's performance and be an apologist for Ben Simmons. And I've done it many times, but I've reached the point here where I don't understand how you can look at that game and forget about the miss. Forget about saying, well, 4 or 6 would have made a difference. We don't know. Taking those valuable offensive possessions out of the hands of the Sixers and into the hands of a guy who shot 29% from the stripe, I think that is a massive liability. I mean, Josh, they took him off the floor towards the end of the game. They took a guy off the floor that is supposed to be, that is a multiple-time All-Star off of the floor in Game 5 of the Eastern Conference Semifinals. That's insane. Could you imagine?
I mean, we've seen this creep up in places before. I do think a lot of this, look, it's obviously he's a shitty free throw shooter, and it's not great that he's missing free throws. Not advocating for that. It's again, to me, this thing that we're missing, that just because he dribbles the ball, we look at it differently. Like, this has been problems before. Hack-a-Dwight has been a thing where sometimes you got to get him off of the floor. Now, we're talking about 10 years ago. This is a very different mechanism. I think that we just need to look at him through a different lens. And I think that's a big part of the problem, because we're ignoring the fact that he is an all defense capable guy on the opposite side of the ball.
Nope. No,
he's not.
See, you're short-sighted here, man. You can't be an all defensive player on that side of the ball when you're not on the floor, because you're such a big liability on the offensive side of the floor because they're hacking you.
Well, that's actually Thibel's problem more so than anything else. He's the real one that doesn't get to be on the floor long enough because he sucks on offense.
Yeah, but who cares at times if he's out there? Like, Thibel's good. Don't get me wrong. Defensively, he's very good. But how good can you be defensively? How valuable can you be if you're not creating positive situations on the defensive end because of how you're affecting the offensive side of the ball? Look, it doesn't happen throughout the entirety of the game, which is why I'm not surprised that Ben still finished with a positive plus minus. But when it counts, when it comes down to it, he was it was a liability. Like, plus minus is not the only thing that matters there. They had, because listen, he was out there when they grabbed a 26-point lead in the first half. Okay. So even if you're terrible in the second half, even if you're a liability at times, you're still going to have some cushion there. And Dwight Howard made it so everybody, was still had a little bit of leeway on that plus minus. Dwight Howard was minus 14 in 8.5 minutes. Insane. The bench once again was terrible. And don't get me started on Doc Rivers, right? But yeah, I think it's a problem. By the way, Doc Rivers with a minute and a half gone in the fourth quarter.
Don't get me started on Doc Rivers. By the way, Doc Rivers.
One thing. He calls a timeout, right? Because they're just getting bludgeoned again, the whole bench, because he throws out these awful bench lineups, and Tobias Harris, who's shooting terribly, is the only starter out there. Crazy, right? Crazy. He's just Brett Brown again. I hated the hire then. I hate it now. You can go back and check my Twitter feed. I stand by that one.
He is incapable of creating his own shot right now, and it's really crazy to me.
Who, Tobias? Yeah, he is. But Doc Rivers calls a timeout with 1.5 minutes to go. Don't worry, we'll get straight into this showdown game. But this needed to happen.
We have tons of time.
Yeah,
and people knew this was coming too. By the way,
yes, people understand this needed to happen. And chat, listen, I'm reading your takes as well. Please let me know what you think after yesterday's game. Let me know.
Yeah, I'm sure tons of people will agree with me right now. You're gonna come out here smelling like a rose, man.
Well, I mean, if you can't after that conversation we have, say, Lafayette had some pretty damn good points on that one, then I don't know where we go from here.
I don't think you're wrong. I just think that Tobias Harris is getting off majorly for an absolutely piss poor game. That the fact that he scored 4 points where his only job is to be a scorer for this team should be setting off alarm bells. And because Ben Simmons can't make free throws, people are going to kind of let it slide.
I agree with that. You're not going to hear me disagree that Tobias Harris wasn't awful yesterday, but the bigger liability is the guy that completely stalls out the offense and can't be on the floor in the final minutes of a game because his free throw shooting is so bad. Anyway, Doc Rivers calls a timeout with 1.5 minutes to go. And
bad timeout, by the way.
Yeah. Well, what's even worse? They come back from commercial break. The exact same lineup is on the floor. I mean, what are you doing? And then after the Hawks shave 4 more points off of it, he puts Joel Embiid back in. This is game 5. Joel Embiid clearly looks okay. I get it. He gets worn out in the fourth quarter, whatever, however you want to put it. I'm not willing to even make that argument because I don't know his body, but
he looked sad at the end of the fourth quarter.
I
understand why, but the emotion he was giving off was not happiness.
No, not at all. I mean, he had to have been super, super pissed off too.
Yeah.
But ultimately, how do you come back from a timeout, from a commercial break too, Josh? Because, I couldn't see anybody getting checked into the game or out. And the whole lineup that just allowed the Hawks to cut in 11 points on a 22-point lead. The same lineups out there.
Doc's not looking great here. Doc's not looking great at all.
No. Do you think he's a good coach?
I mean, yes and no. He's going to be great for the locker room, generally speaking, just because he's been around for so long. I don't think he's a bad coach, but I also don't think that I think the amount of good coaches is fairly small and people don't really realize it.
It's funny. I don't disagree with that. I wanted Kenny Atkinson, and there must be something about Kenny Atkinson that I don't know. Maybe there's something about Kenny Atkinson that you and I don't know about. Because he's an assistant coach on the Clippers. How did he not get a head coaching job? He took an awful Nets team to the playoffs and turned them around in 1 year. And then he was just booted and, nobody wanted him there. I found that to be kind of strange, but I don't know.
So I have one more thing for the Simmons thing, and I'm curious to get your thoughts. And it's not really about Ben Simmons, but it's more the NBA in general. This I know chat's going to lose their mind for, which is great, but they have no idea what they're doing, so it's fine. You should not be able to hack anybody in the NBA. The rule should not exist. It should be one in the ball on an off-ball foul, just by default. It should be international basketball rules. It should never exist that they can play this style and have it matter.
I hate it. And I don't just hate it because of Ben Simmons.
It's a bad product.
It's bad for the game of basketball. Have you ever noticed, and I'm sure you have, whenever a coach decides to employ the strategy of hacking a player, right? Whenever that happens, the camera always cuts to the coach immediately. And the coach has this look on his face like, I feel like a scumbag, but I've got to do this anyway. Every time, I'm telling you, when Scott Brooks did it, when McMillan did it, you could go to any coach. Every camera, no matter whether it's ESPN, TNT, ABC, whatever it is, right? NBC Sportsnet, they all pan to the coach. They all get a close-up shot of the coach just looking like, yep, I'm doing this because it's the only way we get out of this hole. But man, it doesn't feel great because Who wants to play that game where you're hacking a guy off the ball 8, 9, 10 times in a row, sending him to the line, slowing the game to a crawl? It is an awful, awful product. I have no disagreement with you. I don't see why chat would disagree with you on that. Anyone that enjoys the game of basketball, no matter where their fandom lies, should not want to have a game where 3 straight minutes can be consumed by hacking a player.
No, it's silly. It doesn't exist in international basketball, and it shouldn't exist in the NBA. You can police it out immediately. Obviously, you can't do it in the middle of the series, but like, it just shouldn't exist. It makes watching the game worse. And this is an entertainment product, first and foremost. This is a multi-billion-dollar industry. Keeping your eyeballs on the TV is the most important thing they can do. And this particular rule, from the jump, by the way, Ben Simmons, Shaq, Dwight Howard, DeAndre Jordan, I don't care who it is. It is an eyesore on the game and just shouldn't exist. You get one on the ball and an off-ball foul, call it a day. It'll stop immediately, and that's fine.
Lear YT, maybe that's YouTube, says it worked though in all caps. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. This isn't about me being a Sixers fan or being pissed off at Simmons or anything. I've been saying this back to forever. It doesn't make basketball fun. It makes basketball actually far less enjoyable to watch. Now, granted, there are times where Simmons would be at the line or Dwight would be at the line, or, they've done it to DeAndre Jordan before, right? Like they've done it to a number of players. Was it Jordan that was fouled like 30 times? They had like 30 free throws in a game a few years ago. I think you know what I'm talking about.
I'm almost positive that it was.
Right? There were times where, I'm actually rooting for them to knock them down for their own sake, or it's just insane that they're missing all of them like last night. But overall, it just makes the game pretty awful. So
let me see if I can find that DeAndre box score quickly.
A lot of people say learn to make your free throws or get out. Someone said, I disagree, make free throws. Yeah, look, this again, if you tuned into the beginning of the show, I am not defending Ben Simmons. As a matter of fact, I excoriated him to begin the show. It's not about that. That's what I'm saying. I promise you, just disconnect the two. It's just not a good product. It's not that it doesn't work. It clearly works, or teams wouldn't do it, right? It clearly works. It's more so the fact that it makes it not fun. So
like anyway. Lear's response to me is wrong. He says, sorry about the caps. I agree it's not fun to watch, but the strategy behind it was genius. It's not genius. It's obvious. There's no genius to doing that. It is the clear option. You're dumb if you don't do that at this point. By the way, DeAndre Jordan shot 14 of 34 from the line on May 10th, 2015.
14 of 34. So still significantly better than Ben Simmons.
No.
Yeah.
He missed 20 free throws.
Yeah. Well, if Ben took 34,
he'd probably miss 20 something free throws. So either way, it's bad. Yeah, one of them was 12 of 22 misses here on November 30th. That's a lot of missed free throws. Holy hell.
All right, let's talk Brooklyn and Milwaukee here. We needed to get that out of the way. I needed to get that out of the way.
What do you think the most missed free throws in a game is recently, by the way?
This season or like recently?
The past 5 years or past 5 or 6 years is what I have in my database.
Was it not DeAndre Jordan in that game?
I don't know. I'm looking it up now.
I would think it was DeAndre Jordan. While you look that up, let me shout out our sponsor, No House Advantage. You already know, but if you don't, maybe you're new to the channel. What a day you had to jump in on this one. No House Advantage, peer-to-peer player prop platform. Very cool format. Kind of like a tournament. Well, it is a tournament, except without salary cap. You've got player props that you throw into your lineups. You have 8 of them. And the ones that you have the most faith in, the most trust in, that you like the most, you put at the top, they get the most points. The ones that you have the least confidence in, they go at the bottom. You create your lineup, put it in just as you would in any other GPP style contest, guaranteed payouts, cash prizes, and all of that great stuff. That's one thing. But the best part is that we have tools over at Awesemo that are entirely free every day of the year. The Awesemo player prop tool for No House Advantage, and the optimal lineup tool for No House Advantage. You also get $20 when you sign up and deposit for your first time using the promo code Awesemo, AWESEMO. And the biggest advantage, even outside of the tools and the deposit bonus to get you started on the right foot, the biggest advantage is the props are static. They never change. So if you're looking at no house advantage and you see a prop in the morning and then something crazy happens with that game or the team throughout the day, they will not change. No matter how often or how much they change on other books, they don't change on no house advantage. That's a huge advantage that you have. And don't give your competition enough credit to assume that everyone's going to catch those. Some are more subtle than others, but any way to get an edge is the way to play it over at No House Advantage. Build that bankroll up. Make some money over there. Use the free tools. Use the promo code. Get your $20 at No House Advantage. Download it in the App Store, Google Play, or go to nohouseadvantage.com. All right, Josh.
Most free throws missed since, I don't know, 2050. Actually, I go all the way back to 2012. I didn't realize how long I've been doing this now. I have almost 10 years in this database. Wow. Holy hell. It's craziness. Anyway, Andre Drummond missed 23 on January 20th, 2016. He was 13 of 36.
Amazing.
How many minutes do you think Andre Drummond played in that game?
29.
23.
Wow.
He shot 36 free throws in 23 minutes.
That's incredible. What year was that?
2016.
So he shot 36% from the line. And then you know what happened? Andre Drummond improved his free throw shooting massively going forward. Yeah. 61, 59, 60, 60. Not saying those are great numbers, but that's a big improvement from where he was for sure.
Ben Simmons is only on the list of most missed free throws that I have here once out of like 25 that I can see. It's a lot of DeAndre Jordan, a lot of Dwight Howard, a couple Andre Drummonds. Hassan Whiteside peeks his head in there. Josh Smith peeks his head in there.
Yeah, but I don't look at that as
oh no. I'm just reading off what I see. Yeah, it has nothing to do with anything.
Hey, I don't think I asked yet, but if you haven't done so, hit that thumbs up. Hits us greatly. I don't blame you for missing it early on. We were fired up here, but if you did forget, take this opportunity, hit that thumbs up, subscribe to the channel. Hopefully you've enjoyed this free content we've been providing you all year long, and we're going to keep doing it through the postseason. Yeah, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, though, hit that subscribe. You'll always know when we go live next. You don't have to hit notifications either if you don't want to get alerted for certain streams, but if you subscribe, we'll show up more in the browse search feature, all of that good stuff. And it helps us too fight that YouTube algorithm. The more people subscribe, the more people we can get to watch this and keep putting out as good a content as we can and keep building the product, hopefully to make it better for you guys every day of the week. Oh, and if you want to join here and become a member on the YouTube channel, hit that join now. Check it out. It's pretty cool. And we love our members. We love the team here at Awesemo, and love to see it keep growing with all of you guys joining every day. All right, Josh.
Hey, last thing for you because it's Philly. Who wins the series?
The Hawks in 6.
Okay. Have you looked at the line?
Yeah, the Sixers are laying 3 points. I'm not surprised by that. They're never going to be dogs.
Have you seen the series price?
The Sixers, what is it? Probably around even money at this point.
Sixers are plus 130.
Okay. Then that's something.
If they win game 6, do you see a scenario where they could lose game 7 at home?
Yeah. Dude, they just
get... Yeah, they might not let the guys out of the arena.
Yeah, I know. You think we have a fan problem now?
Yeah. Let's see them drop game 7 in a similar fashion.
Dude, that question you just asked me, and we're getting into it right now. Don't worry. I'll close it on this. Do I think they could lose it? They just blew a 17-point lead in Atlanta and then a 26-point lead at home. Yeah, they can lose game 7. Of course. Okay. Of course. All right, Brooklyn and Milwaukee. And by the way, the Clippers, how about that win last night? I mean, what a fade the chalk Paul George, right?
Yeah, great idea there. Dropping a crisp 37, 71. 16 and 5. Yeah. Unbelievable. Unbelievable.
Both 1 seeds get knocked out of this one before the conference finals. But the Brooklyn Nets, big time performance last time out by Kevin Durant. Just absolutely spectacular. They're still 6-point dogs today, 220 total. This is going to be an interesting one, Josh, because James Harden's playing. Kyrie Irving's already been ruled out. I think that is a surprise to nobody after seeing that injury. I'm assuming he's done for the rest of the series. I would be shocked if he wasn't, but I digress. Kevin Durant's been spectacular. This is a showdown slate, only 1 game. We saw how Harden played last game, if you want to call it playing at all, and he played 46 minutes. Kevin Durant played every single second of the game. So when you and I talk so often throughout the entire season about how important minutes are, especially with any player, but when it comes to deciding one top tier option over another, boy, is it difficult to overlook 48 minutes in a single basketball game from one of the best players to ever step on the hardwood.
I don't know what to take away from the fact that they played so many minutes in game 5. I have no idea what to do with that information for game 6.
Why not, though?
Because you expect it to happen again, right? Like, what's your expectation? Do you assume that Kevin Durant plays 48 minutes again today?
At least 46. I could see like a 1 minute break at each half, but yeah. Well, you know why? On the game on the third. Yeah, exactly. Well, that's the prevailing reason, of course. But on the game on the 13th, he was going to play 46 and a half minutes if that game wasn't a blowout and he didn't come out with 4.5 minutes left in the game. So it's not like Steve Nash did anything really all that different outside of not sitting him for 1 minute and 20 seconds in the first half. So yeah, I think he gets 46 to 48 minutes again, barring any unforeseen circumstances where it's an insane blowout or something goes crazy. Yeah, absolutely.
I gave him 44. Just, you got to worry about like aggressive blowouts on both sides, injuries, whatever could pop, foul trouble, whatever could pop up. I felt good at 44. Not like it's changing anything. I mean, Kevin Durant is clearly one of the 2 best plays that you can have today. There's not much like up in the air there. The question becomes like, what's the relationship between him and Giannis? And then the second question is, who the hell is James Harden today? Because if he's the same guy that he was before, I mean, what the hell do we do? He's the hardest guy to pin down today. Nobody is going to be confused on how to roster Kevin Durant. Nobody's going to be confused on how to roster Giannis Antetokounmpo. I have no idea what to do with James Harden. From a minutes perspective, from a rates perspective, I don't have a clue. And he's probably going to go out there and play 44 minutes again.
And that's kind of the thing. Right? I mean, that's an absurd amount of minutes but that's here. It goes beyond that though, right? It goes beyond just playing those minutes. It's also like, even if Harden is healthier than he was last game, Harden's clearly still not 100%, right?
No, not even close.
Can't be.
I don't know. Is there any scenario where you could picture James Harden being the leading scorer of this game today?
No, which means he probably will be. It's like at this point, it's so hard to get a read on that. But no, it's very difficult to see any way in which James Harden is the highest scorer. But Kevin, do
you think they can play him off the floor today? Do you think they go back and watch game 5 like, oh shit, maybe we should like, I don't know, make him move? That has to be on the table, right? That he just physically can't stay back out there once they start trying to put him in everything. They should put him in everything, every possession, every time down the floor.
Here's the interesting thing, right? Maybe maybe game 5 was all just a psyop, and James Harden was actually okay. But because of how well Kevin Durant was playing, they said, you know what, James, just play like dog shit for this entire game. So then when Mike Budenholzer makes the adjustment in game 6 and everyone sags off you and they start double, maybe even tripling Kevin Durant, Drew Holiday, Chris Middleton are nowhere to be found as you stand there beyond the 3-point line. You just start raining down threes. You start jamming them and drives to the basket. And then we're victorious. We take this series home. That's what I think.
That might be a bit of a stretch. I mean, that's some like 4D chess there.
No, but do you think it's possible? I'm joking, obviously. But
no, I don't think that's possible.
No. Do you think it's possible, though, that Mike Budenholzer makes wholesale changes and then James Harden just starts getting absurdly easy looks because it's like, okay, well, let's kind of just not focus our attention on Harden, but maybe he's a little better off than he was a couple days ago. And they're not affording him the same defensive attention because of how bad he was last game and how much it hurt him from trying to keep him out and basically freezing him out of the offense.
I don't think so. After watching that game, I just don't see how he can be more like how he can be a problem offensively. It makes no sense to me for that to be able to happen.
Okay. You know, it's funny that Durant only had a 32% usage rate last game, but he was out there for 48 minutes. So those kind of things are going to happen. He had 100 fantasy points on Draftkings.
Yes, he did. Yes,
he had 100.
And he had to too. That's the thing.
Incredible, man. 100 DraftKings point performance in the playoffs. God.
Hey, Donald in chat. This is not the same Harden that dropped 100 fantasy points. You do fade this Harden. This is very clearly not the same Harden.
Right. I mean, it's a weird thing to say. You know, that's an odd thing to say. I liked Harden last game, and I didn't even assume that he'd play 46 minutes. He played 46 minutes. He was just terrible.
Yeah. Like, obviously, I say a lot of shit on this show, and chat will roast me, but I don't think anybody's going to be like, you know what? It is exactly the same Harden. That was just,
no.
He chose not to enter the 3-point line on either side of the floor.
So then what are you doing with the two top tier guys from the Nets?
I see Giannis and Durant as pretty much interchangeable on DK. It's a little bit easier to get to Giannis because, one, I think he's just a better DFS play in general. And two, he's slightly cheaper. On FanDuel, to me, it's even easier to make that distinction. Durant is $1,000 more expensive than Giannis is. Giannis is picking up a ton of ownership. You're playing those two guys, just to get FanDuel out of the way, you're playing Giannis and Kevin Durant like 90% of the time in the MVP spot. There's just it's really difficult to go a different direction. If we're talking about DK, I think that Giannis and Durant are probably like 30 to 35%-ish captain plays. They are way lower than that in terms of ownership right now. So I like jamming in more Durant, more Giannis in the captain spot. But they're like 80% owned, and they should be. Flip a coin between them, play them both. I don't think that it matters all that much. There's no sifting between them. They're both projected for north of 60 fantasy points in most spots. And the next closest guy is Harden, depending on how you feel about him, or you're dropping all the way down to the low 40s in Holiday and Middleton. Like, I've got Harden at 49 today or somewhere in that neighborhood. I don't know how I get to that number. Like, that's just where the numbers have to get typed in and stuff. But I mean, like, he could have like a 16% usage rate today, and I'd be like, okay, that makes some sense. He could play 30 minutes today, and I wouldn't be surprised if Milwaukee, like, one of two things has to happen. Coach Bud makes wholesale changes to the way that they are attacking James Harden offensively, or the Milwaukee Bucks are about to make wholesale changes to their coaching staff.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's going to end up being the latter, but we'll see. James Harden.
If they win both of these games, does Bud lose his job?
Yeah, I think he should.
He won't, though, right? Like, they're not going to fire him if he makes the conference finals.
I think they will. Oh, you're saying if the Bucks win? I'm sorry, if the Bucks win them?
Yeah. If the Bucks wins Game 6, Game 7, like, they're not going to get canned, and nothing's different about. Maybe they make giant changes, and we're like, oh, Bud did adapt late, but he adapted. But like, the Bucks can very, very, very easily win Game 6 and Game 7 and not even really have to make changes. It just so happens that Kevin Durant is the only healthy, legitimate player on the Nets. Harden can't get it done, and they just fade out. They're not going to fire Bud if he makes the conference finals. And like, nothing would have changed from the way that it looks.
It's amazing too that Harden averaged less than half a fantasy point per minute last game. Yeah, less than half. He's a 1.52 DraftKings point per minute player on the season. He averaged 0.49 fantasy points per minute in that game in 46 minutes.
Played like PJ Tucker.
Yep, pretty much. Yeah. PJ Tucker would have shot a little bit better from three, but yeah, he played like PJ Tucker. So, like you said, it's Giannis or it's Harden in the captain spot for the most part, right? I mean, Giannis or Durant, I'm sorry, in the captain spot. Chris Middleton and Holiday. I don't think that's the craziest idea. Those guys do have the ability to pop off. They at least have a high enough ceiling. Once you get behind that, though, you're just not really looking at anybody that can get the job done. Bobby Portis didn't play last game. That's another thing we can talk about as we move around here. But those were the biggest factors, right? Like Giannis and Durant. What are we doing at captain? What are we doing with James Harden? What are your thoughts here on the middle of the pack with some of these mid-price guys? Like, Harris and Griffin and Bruce Brown and Brooke Lopez. Curious if there are any, because I mean, Bruce Brown played 13 minutes last game. Of course, Harden played 46 too. Joe Harris has not been particularly great lately, shooting 5 of 9, actually 6 of 30 over his last 3 games, Josh. Wow. That's rough shooting for Joe Harris.
Yeah. For a guy that shot like 46% from the 3-point line this season or something, in that neighborhood.
Phenomenal 3-point shooter. Yeah, absolutely phenomenal. Best on the team.
Yeah.
And then Brooke Lopez, he's had some solid shooting games at times in terms of like efficiency, but he is getting a lot of minutes, but he is really a non-factor in many phases of this game. So who do you like here? Oh, and Jeff Green, of course, had that huge game off the bench.
Are you trying to take me through this mid-tier right now?
What do you mean?
In salary? Like this was we're trying to be in this area. I have other people that I was going to be bringing up that I thought were the best plays, but I want to make sure that we're like just trying to hit on the mid tier and salary.
Yeah,
first.
The mid tier, and then we're gonna get to the other ones. Yeah.
Okay, just making sure. I was listening. I was just making sure that I wasn't about to be like, well, Pat Connaughton.
No, you're good. We're working our way down because we already hit on all the top tier guys, and I want to see if we can get through this. And if you want to talk roster construction too, like if it's even viable to be targeting more than one of these guys in these lineups, I'm all ears.
So the two guys that, since we mentioned Jeff Green, I think he is the best non-Durant Harden guy today, 4,800. Probably not going to be sniffing any of the captain spots for me, no matter how well he played in the last one. And obviously don't expect that to happen again. But given his price, given the minutes I'm expecting him to play, they're really crunching down on the rotation. I actually think he's mildly underowned, but like Bryn Forbes, I have basically no interest in. Joe Harris at 7,800 is wildly overpriced to me. Bruce Brown at 6,200, wildly overpriced to me. I don't have a ton of interest in Blake Griffin at 6,800. I find that area really difficult to get to, except for Brooke Lopez. And I actually think that Brooke Lopez at the captain spot isn't crazy because he's going to get so many minutes. I have him in for, I believe, 34 at this point. 5,600, shows up in the optimal 55% of the time. We've got him projected for 46% ownership. To me, the guy in the mid tier that I'm trying to get to in this game is Brooke Lopez.
Okay. Yeah, the minutes for Brooke Lopez are significant enough here, right? I mean, a lot of his shots are going to be 3-pointers. He's not rebounding terribly. What is it going to take, though, to get Brooke Lopez where we need him here? That's kind of the question I have, right? It might be a tough one to answer, but with the way that he's been involved in the offense, can he get there?
Let me give you the number here. In times where Brooke Lopez showed up in the optimal, he averaged 32.5 fantasy points.
Okay. That's doable.
So where has he been in this recent form?
Not
close. That up? No. Yeah. But 32.5 is the average, for him to show up in an optimal. So you can get there at 28, 29, something like that. That'll be enough to be in sniffing distance.
Okay. It's not crazy. All right, then let's talk about some of these cheaper guys that you like. Before we do, though, just keep in mind all of these shows that actually have a shelf life are available in podcast form, whether it's Apple Podcasts, Spotify, you name it. We got you covered on all of those. And I have people DM me all the time saying listen, I love the shows. We watch them. I watch them every day religiously, and I'd love to get a sub. I'm just not in the position right now to do that. Even though we do have express passes for less than $5 a week, which is all of the Showdown tools for basketball. And we have a million different offerings, but I won't get into that. The reason I say this is because we do a lot of giveaways too. We try to give back and put things out there to make it so you at least have a shot. One of the ways to do that is check our Twitter handle at Awesemo_com. We always have some stuff going on there and the pinned tweets. But if you go and check out our podcast on iTunes or wherever it is and leave a review and a rating and a review and leave your Twitter handle and or your email, every week we give away an Awesemo Plus Platinum monthly. It's everything on the site: ownership, player projections, top stack tool, boom or bust tool, the lineup builder. If you want to get the Fantasy Cruncher add-on, which is huge, you can do that as well. All of that stuff is included in the giveaway as well if you want to leave a rating or review, or you just want to listen to podcasts because you don't want to do it on YouTube. But check out awesemo.com/join as well if you're interested in what we've got, from annual to monthly to weekly to express weekly, one sport, every sport. And remember, all these tools built by Awesemo himself, Alex Baker, #1 ranked DFS player for a reason. He has used these tools for a long time to win tons of money playing DFS. So once you learn how to use them and understand what they are, I think you'll thoroughly enjoy all of the tools that you have at Awesemo. And you put yourself in the running to get a free one if you're not in the spot yet to purchase one on your own over on the podcast platform. All right, Josh, go ahead.
Where am I going?
Talking about some of your favorite options that you were going to bring up earlier.
Yeah, so I got two big ones here. And to me, it makes a ton of sense because I'm trying to play a lot more Kevin Durant and a lot more Giannis Antetokounmpo. I don't know why these guys are getting as low ownership as they are, but Pat Connaughton at 2,800 and PJ Tucker at 2,400 to me are my favorite GPP plays of the day. I think they are pretty frequently in the optimal lineup, massively more than where we have their current ownership. Pat Connaughton played 32 minutes in game 5. He's 2,800. You don't have to fall into too many stats to pay off that number. In fact, I have him scoring roughly 20 fantasy points. Now, I might have him slightly higher projected. So, let's say 18 is what you're looking for out of Pat Connaughton at 2,800. I didn't even give him 32 minutes like I did before. It wouldn't even surprise me if he played more than that. I gave him 28. Between Connaughton and Tucker being out there for north of 30 minutes at 2,800 and 2,400 respectively, those guys are the clear, to me, value that you want to get to so that you can roster Kevin Durant and Giannis Antetokounmpo. And they're not picking up nearly as much ownership as I would have expected.
Where's the ownership at right now?
Connaughton's at 40. PJ Tucker is at 37.
40 and 37. Okay.
I have it at 73 and 61 right now.
Okay. That's not bad.
I love those guys as flex options.
Okay. If we're building out a lineup right now, have you crunched anything just to get the optimal unadulterated crunches just straight out with projections?
I'll do it right now.
I think that's a good way to end the show, as it stands right now with the injury news that we have. I don't imagine much is going to change. I'd like to see what that looks like.
Yeah. This is how I end every process show, by the way. 2 games tomorrow. We will have a process show in the morning.
Oh, yeah. How about that?
Look at me coming with the plugs. All right. So my optimal right now, this should be good. Giannis at captain, Durant, Drew, Brooke Lopez, Pat Connaughton, PJ Tucker.
Giannis at captain, Durant. Who else? Drew
Holiday, Brooke Lopez,
and
Connaughton, and Tucker.
Oh, PJ Tucker in the optimal, huh? It's always fun.
I mean, look, if you're trying to play Kevin Durant and Giannis together, you're paying down somewhere. We just saw it happen in game 5 that the 6th spot in the lineup was a straight 0.
I know.
It was a low salary guy that did not participate in the game.
Who was? I'm assuming it was Portis.
No. So Tyler Johnson was the primary guy, but anybody at, I believe, 2K and below could have been in that spot. Amazing. I saw somebody else randomly that doesn't play. I can't remember which name I saw, but I saw someone. No, it wasn't Shamit. I saw somebody else in there. Okay, but Tyler Johnson was the primary guy in that.
Gotcha.
Lineup.
I just assumed it would have been Portis since I know he's a little bit more expensive, but the fact that we actually expected him to play a little bit and he didn't. So
let me look at the salary list quick. I could tell you who else I saw, but 1,000,000%. Any of the 1K guys work, obviously. I saw TLC in 1 or 2 of them that ended up getting there, but Tyler Johnson was the guy. Any of those 1K guys.
Any surprises we could get tonight on either end of the rotation for Brooklyn or Milwaukee?
I wouldn't be surprised to see Bobby Portis get back in the rotation in some way. I have him projected for a rotation right now. Look, he played really well in game 4. I was very, very surprised to see him not get out there in game 5, especially when they were looking for a little bit of offense. So I think that they could, to me, he's the first guy that could possibly get dusted off here. On the Brooklyn side, it wouldn't surprise me at all if we saw a little bit more run for one of Mike James or Tyler Johnson, just from a fact that I think, in my mind, Milwaukee goes at James Harden more and needs to be off the floor more than 2 minutes like he was last time, at which point someone in that Mike James, Tyler Johnson role has to play 6-7 minutes instead of 30 seconds.
That makes sense. I don't know how much of a difference it makes on a slate like this, but sometimes, getting 10 or even, 10, 12 minutes from a guy, especially that plays close to the basket and has some 3-point upside, can be all the difference you need. It's just, you're going to have to take some shots here. So we've got your optimal, Josh. I'm wondering if that's the one that you're just willing to, at this point, run out in tournaments. Has your philosophy changed?
I would have to look at what I thought the ownership was and how many times I thought it was getting duped.
Okay.
So hard for me to tell. Hard for me to say right now.
That's fair.
By the way, the second most optimal is just flip-flopping Giannis and Durant in the captain spot.
That makes sense. Anyway, that'll do it for us. Check out the process show from Josh if you missed it not today, tomorrow. I know yesterday it was just kind of washed after we got all of that news, but tomorrow, hopefully we won't run into that same issue. It'll be Clippers, Jazz, and
can you imagine if today looked like yesterday? How much ridiculous nonsense would have to happen? The moment I clicked upload, everything was over for me.
Oh, I know. It's amazing. Do you do contenders on Showdown slates?
I do. They are already posted.
They're already posted. There you have it. And we'll have a lot coming up throughout the day as well. MLB Strategy Show, 11 o'clock Eastern time. Look, very simply, if you're looking for good content for DFS, we have you covered all throughout the day. MLB Deeper Dive at 5, MLB Live Before Lock at 6, 7:30. You've got NBA Live Before Lock, and then even the MMA Strategy Show at 8:30 with Jason Floyd and Pete Rogers. All day long, we got you covered. Hit that thumbs up if you enjoy the show and the content. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so yet. Come on, become a member, become a family member here at Team Awesemo. We appreciate all you for hanging out throughout every single show that we do. Josh and I'll close out the work week with you tomorrow on a 2-gamer. I get to watch my Sixers get shit on and series closed out in 6 games despite being the 1 seed. I'm sure you'll want to be here for it. Later, guys.